Administrator, I had asked you, we had a discussion about the congressionally directed spending projects. You have indicated that indeed we've got a backlog here that we need to address. My understanding is that since fiscal year 2022, Congress had directed 2,264 CDS projects at the EPA. Only 705 have received the funding. So I think both of us would agree, you know, we've got an issue here. There's a problem. The FY25 CR, of course, did not include the CDS projects. So I'm looking at that and saying, all right, the agency has the balance of the fiscal year to work on catching up from this backlog of the CDSs. Can you just give me a little bit of your understanding in terms of how you've directed your team to expeditiously get these projects out the door in a more timely manner?
I appreciate the question, Madam Chair. The backlog goes back years, and I've directed my team to both work with the members of Congress who represent those areas, the members of Congress who requested those earmarks, to get assistance in the case where the recipient has not been responsive, and simultaneously to try to engage as much as possible directly with the recipient to try to get the recipient to submit their paperwork. We want to completely get through the entire backlog that we inherited as quickly as possible.
Can we help you with that? I mean,
yes.
I'm working with my constituents right now as we're moving forward in this year's appropriations and getting requests for CDSs. So can you perhaps either let me know who it is on your team that we need to be communicating directly to, if there are snags on your end, or perhaps, again, you're just not able to get in touch with the applicant?
Yeah, 100%. And as you well know, the EPA is broke down into all sorts of different program offices.
Right.
And it might not be just one person for all grants. It might depend on whether the backlog, we might be talking about a backlog inside of the Office of Water where they need assistance from the members of Congress, or maybe it's another office, maybe it's the Office of Air and Radiation. We would look forward to an opportunity to work with you and your team and all members of Congress on both sides of the aisle as much as possible to eliminate the backlog that we inherited.
Good, good. Let's do that. I think that's a good plan. Many members here have asked about different grants and programs, the pauses, the freezes. It's been particularly frustrating in Alaska when we hear that there's been a holdup in terms of the grant award. We've got just a limited construction season. It's just hard. And even if you're not choked by ice, you might have a barge that comes up with your materials for a project maybe once, maybe twice a season. And so it can push a project back not just months, but by another season, another year, perhaps multiple years. It's been hard to provide some clarity to our communities on which grants are going to be awarded, which are just going through the review process that you've shared with us, which grants have been terminated. So I'd ask if your folks could provide a list of what's actually been paused for review versus what has been terminated. I think we've heard, for instance, on the EJ grants, that one has been perhaps more clear, but there are a lot in between, and I think it would help our communities if there was more certainty as to what has actually been terminated versus what is still in the pipeline for review. So I'd ask for your help on that.
Absolutely, Madam Chair, and we will continue to be distributing funding appropriated by Congress as we go through the rest of the fiscal year. That will include funds for your great state, and we look forward to working with you on the process. As you know, when the president first came in, there was a administration-wide pause that was lifted. The pause that was then instituted for EPA was more specific to some of the Inflation Reduction Act programs. There was a clean school bus program concern that was raised early in the administration when Lion Electric and their bankruptcy issue caused some questions to be asked to make sure that the concerns with Lion Electric it was just specific to Lion Electric. And as it relates to the grants that were canceled, that's something that if you have any questions about what was included in that, we're happy to answer any individual questions.
Good. Okay. We'll work with you on that list. Senator Merkley.